Tunnels are dark, confined, and full of mystery, perfect settings for the unexpected. Today, we venture into the eerie and unexplored, where the unknown lurks just beyond the shadows. From chilling encounters to unsettling sounds, these are the 35 scariest things caught on camera in tunnels. Prepare yourself for a journey into the depths of fear. The last place you want to get stuck should be a tunnel. There are more than one downside to that, because what could be a nighttime exploring may as well be something much more than that.
In 2009, John Jones was exploring the Nutty Putty Cave, and he decided he wanted to go through one of the tightest stretches. He noticed it was really tight.
While exploring a cave, this man got stuck in. At first, you may want to say that it would be quite an experience going into the middle of a cave, but for a cave as tight as the one he got stuck in, it was not the best experience anyone should have.
Cave, and he knew that if he just kept persisting, he would safely get through. The only problem is that John had taken a wrong turn.
Just a tiny miscalculation of direction turned into something much more.
Uncharted part of the cave. This stretch was so tight that John became stuck upside down after a 27-hour rescue attempt.
After several hours attempting to save his life, he gave up the ghost. It is only fair to seal up the cave to avoid a random person getting the shock of their life encountering the body randomly while also exploring the caves. Just like people, some people make scenarios in their heads about what they would do if they experienced the apocalypse or a zombie invasion. Have you ever wondered how you would survive if you got stuck in a tunnel with your group of friends? This man definitely was not prepared for what happened to them. While being together on a work-related adventure, these men got stuck in a tunnel. Rescue cavalry did not turn up until a lot of hours later. By the time they were found, 3 of them were already unconscious, while the remaining 12 were barely hanging on to life. Many things may not be obvious, but it is clear that these men won't be going near a tunnel anytime soon. Some people think that driving at night is the hardest thing about driving. But imagining driving in a place where there are a billion factors that decides whether you make it to the other end or not. This tunnel was birthed through the labors of some villagers, and it sure is one way to tell nature that it does not stand a chance against humans sometimes. One wrong turn, or even going a little far above the speed limits of even a cave-in, could lead to not-so-desirable consequences, and it is sure a challenge for anyone with the confidence to try it out. Do you think you can drive through the tunnel? What do you think you would find in an underground tunnel? Maybe you can think of some scenarios right now, but none of your imaginations could have compared to what was found in this tunnel. The tunnel looked like it had people living their regular lives in it, which makes you really wonder what stories lie in these walls. It is not every day you come across a baby stroller in a tunnel. There are several other things in this underground tunnel that would make you ask questions, but if you could make a guess of what transpired here in the past, what stories would you come up with? Some tunnels are just what they are. Tunnels, while some other ones are much more beyond what you think they are. Such as this tunnel that was explored with drones. The explorers were not expecting what they found inside. One of the things you do not ever want to experience in life is getting lost in a tunnel, because you can't tell how far they go and what's at the end of them. One of the amusing things about them is also how the unexpected places might be the front for the tunnels. You could be in your friend's room with nice walls and all, and the next moment you are lost in some place that seemed to have no end. So the next time you want to wander around in an unfamiliar house, you may want to check in first with the owners. Nowhere is safe, not even the hospital you get tetanus shot the last time. A drone ran into this hospital, and what they found was so unexpected. If it was not caught on camera, you would not have believed it a bit. What looked like a hole in the ground was discovered to be much more than that. At first look, you would think that it was an abandoned construction project, but a little navigation of the drone revealed a tunnel. The tunnel went on for a long, long time with no end in view. After what seemed like a long time, the end of the tunnel was seen. From the time it took, if someone got lost in there, the person may be unconscious before help gets there. When you enter a tunnel, sometimes you feel that all that you do is go straight ahead and you would get to the end of that tunnel. Unlike most tunnels that you must know and encounter, the structure of this tunnel must be much more complicated than what you would expect normally.
في أول صورة مما حصلت عليه الجزيرة، يظهر أسيران فلسطينيان يجوبان بين المنازل المدمرة. ترقبهما كاميرا.
This tunnel had so many branches and turns that would have anyone without a clear map of how that tunnel really works. This is one of the tunnels that you would not want to wander into for no particular reason, because it would be hard to keep track of where you have been and where you should be. When you enter a weird tunnel somewhere untarred and weird looking, you may have your guards up, but what happens when the strange things happen in a well-tarred tunnel road with lights and even a CCTV camera? This driver entered this tunnel like the thousands of drivers who drove past that same day, but what happened to him was surprising. After such a gruesome accident, one would not expect even a pin to leave that site unbent. However, the driver left the car barely hurt but probably shaken. It took a large towing vehicle to get the car away from the tunnel. Every driving advice you ever got when driving most likely warn you to be careful when driving large vehicles, and even when overtaking them, most especially in a tunnel. In case you have never taken note of it before now, you may want to be extra careful next time. A busy tunnel road in the night is normal, but what happened to this large vehicle was not normal. If the car behind had been 5 seconds earlier, it would have been a much different story. Sometimes are not never perfect for an overtake. Even the larger vehicle beside the damaged one was sure to tread softly in that situation. How careful are you when driving in a tunnel? Maybe not too careful, because everyone loves a well-tarred road and traffic-free road after a busy day at work, when all you want to do is to get home and enjoy the comfort of your bed. This driver driving after a busy day at work must have felt the same way too, but what happened next would keep him from sleeping for some days. Losing control over the wheels maybe to an extent normal, but making it fly that high so much that it hits the high flyover, that is beyond what one would believe a car can ever do. Harder to imagine anyone coming out of that alive. Maybe next time when you want to cross the speed limit under the tunnel, you may never know how high your car can fly too. People are going through a lot of things, so much that it is hard to predict what a man will do when he is at the edge. Just like you would not have predicted what this man did in a tunnel during a mental health crisis. There may be a lot of theories we can put together to describe this, but that clearly has something to let off his chest. The driver did not wait for him to get off, nor did he slow down the car for the man to get down. Finally, it was hard to keep his weight still on the car, so he fell on the road. That was not unexpected, since he was barely holding on to the car. Some tunnels are as old as the city itself, and unless you are with a group of well-armored friends, it is a path you do not want to go down alone because of the 1,000,001 unexpected things you could encounter in such a tunnel. If you found a tunnel like this, would you be comfortable driving through it? The tunnel spans for a very wide distance, and you can tell that it must have been quite functional when it was in use. One could be trekking from one end of this tunnel and not get to the other end for a full day if care is not taken. Such a person may have even given up on the possibility of seeing any light at the end of the tunnel, unless they have strong convictions about the tunnel beforehand. Whatever they said about light behind every tunnel was definitely true. About this tunnel because it leads out finally. Tunnels are for some purposes. However, that purpose does not include what this driver was using it for. It may have been normal for every other driver to be in that tunnel, but this driver would have been driving more comfortably if he had not chosen the tunnel. You won't expect what made him different from the others. Some drivers found it quite fair to still pass beside him as he struggled to pass through, while some others understand that it is like driving beside a ticking time bomb. Too risky for anyone who values their lives, car and time.
People are wicked.
For a large vehicle like this, it is going to take twice the time for it to get through the tunnel. You would never know where and when to expect tunnels. A hospital was searched, and a spot was found. At first, what looked like a normal elevator shaft was much more than that. The camera first started with a view of what could pass for an elevator shaft. Not the fancy parts you are used to, but the part that maintenance guys and engineers are much used to. A slight change in the angle of the camera showed a tunnel that was not planned. What do you think would be uncovered if they kept going deeper into the tunnel? When you hear a strange sound on the open road in the middle of the night, you can still tell from an elevated distance what is really going on there. You know a bit of what to expect even if you are going in to help. It is different when the sound comes from one of the unexpected spots to see. Shortly after a car entered a tunnel, no one expected what happened next. From a distance, it is hard to tell what really became of the car that just entered the tunnel, but one thing is sure, the shots were either from that car or directed to that car. With more and more sporadic shooting afterwards, it is fair to say that no vehicle in that tunnel is going to remain the same afterwards. There are some things that guarantee that you are going to waste a lot of time on the road after a busy day at work. Intense traffic is one of them. But when the reason you would be stuck in traffic is because of something unexpected like in this video, you will need to decide whether you will wait for it to clear out or just head home on foot.
There you go, people are moving, leaving their Ubers.
When the overweight tractor truck got stuck inside the tunnel, it sent a clear sign to a lot of people that it is going to take much more than sitting it out to get this cleared out. After a busy day at home, most people just want tourists and not sit in traffic that could have been avoided. Cars started backing off so that the tractor can find it easier to get out. Then the normal pace will be restored.
Bye-bye. Keep going until the state trooper tells us to turn.
Would you wait to see it being cleared if you were in that situation? A person could be driving home on a beautiful evening and passing through a tunnel could be a chance to experience something as unexpected as this that could raise your stressor levels up a notch. These cars started an unannounced car race that could also pass for a car chase in the middle of a tunnel, leaving other drivers who did not get the memo to be careful to avoid a collision. Some drivers would prefer to stay back until the whole drama in the tunnel was over, while some people will just turn up the speed too and join in the race. If it were you, would you join in? There is taking risks and there is putting your life in harm's way just for the fun of it. At first, you would see this as normal until you realize how much danger people can meet even in expected places. The spot is a dangerous place to be for a bike because it's not only secluded, but the cars behind it could rear-end it because they don't get a proper sight of it in that corner, like they would for a car. It was fair to see that this did not end in a tragedy, but a lot of things could have gone wrong regardless. Sometimes when we say that nature stands little chance against humans, this is what we mean. A normal entrance into a cave proved to be much more than just a normal entrance. Driving into a cave opening, you would expect to see a dead end, especially when you get to what looks like one. Only to be surprised by the fact that you could still turn to the side and continue your journey through what now looks like a tunnel. This is not a place anyone who's claustrophobic wants to be because of how tightly enclosed it is to the car. Finally, what seems to have been like being lost in a large cave becomes a passageway that leads out to another tarred road. One thing about passing tunnels is that you don't want to be caught in one at the wrong time. Whether it is a cave-in or even far more experience is the worst dream of anyone who passes through a tunnel. What should have been a normal day passing through the tunnel was not as normal as it should be. Everyone will have to run for their dear lives because a knife fight is not where you want to be without a knife of your own. It won't matter how much a person is in a haste. You either find another route or wait until the fighter is done. On first look at this tunnel, you would think it is just a big hole dug by rodents to get around the soil, but what was discovered after it was investigated is surprising. The structure of the tunnel was too solid than what a rodent would burrow, especially when you consider how deep it is and how strong it is, such that it did not cave in when explorers entered to check it. The closest probable cause of such a hole is that some people were digging a tunnel for some reason. Since the tunnel ended at some point, we can say that they stopped the tunnel project midway. Some drivers think driving in a tunnel makes them have superpowers. This man thought his car was immune when he was driving in a tunnel, and he did not expect what happened to him next. With such an high speed, you would expect that at some point he may lose control of the car and crash into something. The car was nothing to write home about after the accident. Reading signs is important. This driver did not read the sign and got into a situation he was not expecting. The driver could not get through the tunnel because of the height of his car. We can either blame this on not reading signs or underestimating the actual height of his car. If it was a busy tunnel, there would have been cars lined up on both sides of the road, being delayed because of the negligence of the large trunk driver. If you need to escape from a group of zombies and you have to choose between a traffic jam road and this tunnel, it is advisable that you choose the busy road because at least you know what to expect on the road. Unlike other normal tunnels, you may be shocked about what was discovered about this tunnel. On a lonely and long tunnel like this, you can never tell what could be waiting for you right there in the middle of the tunnel. It is one of those places you don't want to be caught inside at the wrong time, because making a reverse won't be so easy. Some houses hold within them more than you would ever be able to tell from the outside. These soldiers entered this house and were shocked at what they found. What looked like a normal house was much more than that. The soldiers kept searching around the house until they found just what they were looking for. The occupants of the house ensured to keep the entrance of the tunnel out of plain sight with household appliances everywhere. One thing about tunnels that defy nature is that sometimes nature works to reclaim what it used to have. At that point, it won't matter what that leads to. What looked like a normal tunnel road becomes something unsafe than you can imagine. The landslide gave way for the road that originally looked like it was firm, with everything falling to the side. You can imagine how much danger anyone would be in if they were caught at that point at the wrong time. With such a massive landslide at a part of that road, every other part is like a ticking bomb waiting to give way. Anyone who has done active service before knows that face-to-face combat in highly populated areas is very dangerous. You walk slowly, looking ahead and above. What most people never realize is that sometimes you need to be looking beyond, ahead, and above. What looked like a normal hole in a field was much more than that. A step in the wrong direction would have meant getting a gunshot from their attackers underground. With the safety of the tunnel beneath the ground, the terrorists should shoot directly from there without coming in direct contact with the officers. Since they could not see their suspect directly, the soldiers had to resort to the use of grenades. You think that you have seen all that there is about dangerous tunnels, but the structure of this tunnel is different from what you have ever seen. With a tunnel like this, all it would take to be rolling down the hill would be just being there at the wrong time or taking the wrong step. You can't move too fast or too slow. So you have to ensure that you are an expert at navigating curves like this. That is the only way to guarantee safety from driving off the cliff here. Direction rules for tunnels are there for a reason. This man disobeyed one of the most important rules of driving through a tunnel and caused much more than anyone could handle. Cars coming in opposite directions were not expecting to see a car coming towards them in a one-way tunnel. This made it hard for most of them to get quick control of their cars. After realizing the situation, most of them were finally about to navigate their cars in a way that avoids a collision with the defaulting car. The major way to have avoided any collision in the first place should have been done if someone had obeyed tunnel traffic rules. People leave their house to make a living. But sometimes some people work makes them leave home and not be back, not because they are dead, but something unexpected has happened to them. Not everyone gets to see a landslide in their lifetime, especially if their work is not in any way like these man's work. They got trapped in a tunnel after a landslide happened while they were at work. Their co-workers helped them out of the tunnel one after the other until they had an head count and everyone lost in the tunnel was brought out successfully. Public tunnel roads are usually safe until they are not. This trunk entered a tunnel, but what was supposed to be a smooth ride through the tunnel was much more than that. The slippery floor made it hard to keep balance in the tunnel, leading to the truck driver struggling to keep the trunk going. This is one of the few occasions where being a good driver is not enough. But knowing how to keep trying until you get what you want might be what will be the difference between an accident and a safe passage. When a tunnel is big enough to take the biggest vehicles, you would know that it is meant to be more than a normal passage tunnel. When this tunnel was discovered, it was believed to just be normal until they realized something different. The first entry point could be accessed by a large trunk, but looking further, areas of the tunnel that are deeper than expected were found. There were further gates still inside the first tunnel. It's just like finding a tunnel inside a tunnel. And another tunnel just continuing from where the last one stopped. If you see a staircase in the middle of nowhere, leading down into the ground, would you follow it to see where it leads? This staircase was discovered, and what they saw afterwards was shocking. The end of the staircase showed the beginning of what looks like a tunnel. While it may be as straight cut as it looked from the outside, one can't tell what to expect inside the tunnel. A tunnel like that is something you want to avoid unless you have a map that says where it leads to. Each work has its own risk, But would you work at a job where your chances of success almost equals to the chances of being caved in? These men found what they were searching for while working, but what they discovered next made them think twice.
We enter an area riddled with hand-dug tunnel mines.
These tunnel miners are deep in search of precious stones, but some of the stones are usually stuck with the rest of the cave. In a job like this, you need to make tough decisions.
25 meters underground, the men dig again, unearthing more cobalt.
When you first look at this room from the outside, all you would see is a child's room turned upside down. On closer look, you would see something you can't imagine would be in a child's room. A child's room is supposed to be a safe space for the child and nothing else. Since the tunnel has one of its ends in a child's room, it's sure that its other end would be somewhere far more surprising.